It costs that much cause it takes me fucking hours. It costs that much cause I don't have superpowers. So you need to pay for my skills cause exposure doesn't pay the bills. It costs that much cause it takes me fucking hours. You need to pay for my skills cause exposure doesn't pay the bills. It costs that much cause it takes me fucking hours.
Shut up, bitch!
We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live! Fuck it! Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
James Woods can say it. Ooh, I'll be secondary. Ooh, I'll be secondary. Ooh, I'll be secondary. Ooh, I'll be secondary. When a Bowen turned into a vampire, all James Woods could say was, ooh, I'll be secondary. Ooh, I'll be secondary. Ooh, I'll be secondary. Ooh, I'll be secondary. When he became Peter's best friend, they sat around the house and said, secondary, ooh, I'll be secondary, ooh, I'll be secondary, ooh, I'll be secondary. And you know that James Woods practices lines real well, but everything that he reads becomes real hard to spell. Everyone tries to help him, but the words just won't come out. There's only one thing he can think of, and it's what comes out his mouth. Ooh, I'll be secondary. I'll be secondary. Ooh, I'll be secondary. Ooh, I'll be secondary. When he comes out of his house, the women scream and shout. Ooh, I'll be secondary. Ooh, I'll be secondary. Ooh, I'll be secondary. Ooh, I'll be secondary. When they know that he's an actor, the best of them all when he says, ooh, I'll be secondary. Ooh, I'll be secondary. I'll be secondary. Ooh, I'll be secondary. Reese's Pieces on the floor and watch him come a saying, ooh, I'll be secondary. Ooh, I'll be secondary. Ooh, I'll be secondary. Ooh, I'll be secondary. And you know that James Woods practices lines real well, but everything that he reads becomes real hard to spell. Everyone tries to help him, but the words just won't come out. There's only one thing he can think of, and it's what comes out his mouth. Ooh, I'll be secondary. Ooh, I'll be secondary. Ooh, I'll be secondary. Ooh, I'll be secondary. When he comes out of his house, the women scream and shout. Ooh, I'll be secondary. Ooh, I'll be secondary. Ooh, I'll be secondary. Ooh, I'll be secondary. Ooh, I'll be secondary.
Fucking thing sucks!
This is what we call in comedy a callback. This guy right here. This guy. What the hell? What the hell's he been eating? Here we are broadcasting live from Russell Dobular's apartment in Manhattan. I'm not straightening those fucking shelves. It's gonna take a young priest and an old priest to fix those things. Some miracles just can't be done. I think space aliens will visit us and before those shelves get fixed. So, but anyway, Russell is on his way back from India, I believe, to the United States, with his Hawaiian shirts that he bought over there, because that's where you buy Hawaiian shirts, in India, apparently. Who's here? We have a full crowd here for Lady Tusker tonight. It's going to be a good one. We got Mika and Kim and Miguel and Scott, and Keaton's in here under the due dissonance. Shh, don't tell. Incognito. We got Gamer in here, and Ed's here too. We just got the whole hee-haw gang. It's great. Sam Cedar is king. Good to see you. Mika, I may have already said your name, but I'll say it again. It's so nice, I'll say it twice. And I think, doesn't exist. Good to see you. So yeah, tonight I have a special treat for you. Miss Tusker is here. She is a contributor to the phenomenal runaway hit show, Due Dissidents. So we're trying to steal all their people, because that's what you do. You steal from the best. And we got her here tonight. There she is. One ginger to another. We will unite as ginger superheroes. That's going to be the new Marvel movie. What's up?
Right. And I consider myself more of a barnacle when it comes to Due Dissidents. I just kind of like latched on, and they haven't been able to shake me yet. So.
A barnacle? I used to call myself a festering boil, which was also my college alt rock band. But I
don't think you're allowed to talk about anything like that.
I've already said too much.
Oh God.
I told you this show is stupid, mommy. I told you it's stupid. Anyway, you and I both had the pleasure of co-hosting Due Dissonance with Keaton while Russell was abroad, doing his bucket list stuff. And but before we get into the how you help out those guys at Due Dissonance, and trust me, they need the help. Giddy up. I saw you on there co-hosting, but I've seen you on there a few other times too. You have some really good political takes, and it's like, you know what? We need to share Tusker with the world. We can't just let Due Dissonance have you all to themselves. You greedy bastards! I'll see you in hell. I'm shaking my fist at the chat because I know who's in there.
I'm just hanging around until like Majority Report gets a hold of me, and then I'm dropping you guys. Like,
come on now, you're not. You look? You put the requirements to be on that show.
I want to support Marianne Williamson. I mean, I got to get on that show. Really.
You could do that, but I don't think I don't think that's gonna help.
Well, I mean, I already don't have a soul since I'm a ginger.
That's right.
Might as well go on the Majority Report.
Red-haired people of the world unite.
Indeed. Rise up.
You already have a fan. Where does he say? Sam Cedar said, yes, you would. You'd be great for Majority Report. Hell yeah, you would. You'd actually be the only one on there with common sense. That's for sure.
Yeah, their audience might learn something.
Let's talk about you for a second. Enough about me. Let's talk about you. So, like you said, you're a Patreon supporter, but you're a contributor too, with your opinions and stuff to Due Dissidents on occasion. And like I said, really good stuff. The kids dig it. It's like it's got a nice beat and it's easy to dance to. So, but something along the way had to spur you to be this kind of politically minded person that you are. So how did you get here? What's your Marvel origin story?
Man, that's one of those things that like it. I mean, the easy starting point is Bernie Sanders' 2016 campaign. Okay, definitely that's an easy way. But I would also just say that just my just general like course of life has kind of shaped that. Um, my sister's always had sort of like some mental health problems, so I was always very concerned about healthcare, and she wasn't working because of those things, and she really needed to go see doctors and stuff. So like the Medicare for all message just like really hit me. But I would have to say, I mean, I was born in the South. I grew up listening to Rush Limbaugh. I mean, that's what my parents had on the radio. I was homeschooled, like through a like kind of like one of the Christian like sort of correspondence schools that does that. So I was pretty deep into sort of what you would consider the right leaning South or whatever. But then I was a true believer in Obama. I did have the hope and change. Like I actually considered wearing like my Obama hope and change t-shirt that I had like bought back in the day just to rep it. I was a true believer. Mostly I'm anti-war, but I would have to say the Bernie 2016 run, what was done to him, probably a little bit of just being semi-curious about the JFK assassination sort of led me into sort of more the investigation of the military-industrial complex in the CIA, and led me down this path of I don't believe a dang thing that the government says, But a lot of it is getting called in at 2 a.m. at night, dealing with patients that haven't been able to see a doctor for 10 years, and they die in front of me. Yeah. Makes you think about a different system.
And I tell you, this work. I'm sure you working in the healthcare field too. You've seen all kinds of craziness, especially over the last few years, and we don't have to go into that. Hey, Austin, good to see you. But because the healthcare system was flawed well before the pandemic hit. I'm from the South too. I grew up in Mississippi, spent most half my life there. And I was seeing rural hospitals down there getting shut down left and right. The one in my little hometown, Wiggins, we had a Stone County Hospital. It had been shut down, reopened, shut down, reopened. And it's just like, how do you square that with people these days who are going, medically bankrupt? And, so there's less and less places for people to go. So, I mean, are we ever going to get out of this like healthcare crisis? I mean, is this just going to have to take like a total change of the political system to do that? I mean, how do you think we can do that?
I mean, I really do think it takes a total change of the system. There are like big pharma, the health insurance industry, all of these things, they're bad actors. And there are plenty of hospitals that are also bad actors. But in a lot of ways, hospitals are a victim of the profit healthcare system. There are just certain things that they sort of have to engage in order to get those profits. They're getting basically bent over and screwed by not only pharmaceutical contracts and how you pay for drugs, but one thing that hardly ever gets talked about is the medical device industry. These devices are incredibly expensive. They pay for huge conventions. They lobby just the same way as everything. There are these instances where they have written so many laws. I mean, you can basically have a hiccup and they'll put a $25,000 ICD in you. Mm. I mean, that's how they've written the regulations. And then what do hospitals do? Well, they got to keep the doors open because all the rural hospitals are shut down. You got to have some place for patients to go. And, so you kind of engage in some of these practices in order to keep the doors open. So no, as long as the entire healthcare system is based on a for-profit enterprise, nope, not going to happen. Has to be about actually taking care of sick people.
Yeah. I mean, that to profit off of someone's ill health is just like that's a level of evil that no one should ever have to experience. Hey, Les Bones, good to see you. One of our producers here at Extra Bulla. You know, I my dad was a veteran, and so he was medically discharged from the Navy after World War II, and it took him a long time, but it wasn't until Jimmy Carter came along to where he was able to get medical benefits because he couldn't work anymore. He had mental problems, but he also had physical problems too. Jimmy Carter comes along, who's a Navy vet himself. Finally, he gets the health care, and so through Dad, we were covered. So that also covered his wife and his kids. So I had an appreciation for having free health care. Didn't have to worry about it so much as a kid, right? But at the same time, I'm this gray hair says I'm an old fart. So I remember the 70s and even in the 80s, and even back then, people weren't really worried about medical bills. It wasn't really until Reagan kicked in and really just hyper jump-started neoconservatism and pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Oh, you don't have any bootstraps? Well, you should have been born rich like me. Sorry. That sort of thing. But I always thought we had it good when it came to healthcare, and I always thought to myself, well, everybody should have this. Everybody in America, everybody on the planet should not have to worry about going broke, paying $10,000 just to ride in an ambulance, right? You're seeing these horror stories of like people who are calling Uber or someplace, something like that to take them to the hospital because they don't want to get hit with the 10K on top of whatever they're going to get at the emergency room. Ugh, Jesus.
Yeah, one of my coworkers, she was, 33, something like that. She'd had 3 kids. So, she wasn't planning on having any more kids, anything like that. She had basically some type of ovarian cancer, Well, we work my hospital is a religious hospital, and it's not covered. It's not covered there. They refuse to do anything with the woman's kind of reproductive ability. So she had to go to an out-of-network hospital to get her cancer removed and got hit with a $45,000 bill.
Jesus Christ.
To get rid of cancer.
Yeah.
And she works for a hospital.
And now you just see people just like just going to a regular doctor, not even the hospital. They just avoid going to the doctor, period, because, even if they have insurance, that's
at
what's
this point,
fucked
just
up.
do acupuncture. I don't know. Just start jabbing yourself with things. I don't know. It's probably just as helpful. Just kidding. Obviously, seek medical attention if you need it.
For a medical person like yourself, telling people just to stick themselves with pins.
Fuck it.
It's like you sound like one of my drunk aunts. You're just like, just
popping whatever vitamins and drinking oolong tea or whatever, just like that's how we solve everything.
Let me tell you something. This is the secret to life: is a 3 olive martini dry. Oh, very dry. Cures anything.
They might be onto something. I might believe in that 3 olive martini thing. No, it's the state of healthcare is an absolute mess. It's a mess. Unfortunately, it's the system that we have. If you are indigent, if you don't have the ability to pay for that type of stuff, make sure you go to a nonprofit hospital. They have legal recourse for you to get a reduction on your payments. I can tell you that there are plenty of people that we don't even go after on their bills. We just know they're not going to pay. And so we automatically just go to zero and take the loss on it. Make sure you go to a nonprofit hospital if you do not have the money for healthcare. But we just have to deal with the system that we have until we can fight for something better, and it's not going to come through the Democratic Party. Okay.
That's true. What is it? Shama Sawant said, progressive ideas go to die in the graveyard of the Democratic Party or something like that. I think it was.
Yeah.
You know.
And I would also have to say, I'm glad you kind of mentioned that. This is one of these things. I know I'm a book reader, y'all. I'm sorry. I know. But as part of my path of radicalization, this is actually one of the books that I came across that sort of helped me with that. And it's called The Democrats, A Critical History by Lance Selfa. And he literally talks about how even in the 1920s and the 1930s, the Democrats were pulling the same tactics that they're pulling now. This is not something brand new. And I wish that, more people would realize that. Everyone's like, it's like they're swimming in a goldfish bowl, the left is. There's a history there. And it didn't just start with Bernie Sanders. It's been a very, very, very long time coming. There has been an absolute decimation and destruction of the left that's been happening for 100 years now. But everyone seems to think that that's all brand new. And that's one of the reasons why, like, a Marianne Williamson candidacy is kind of especially galling.
Yeah, let's talk about her for a second. I mean, it just seems like another dog and pony show to me. I mean, no offense to her. I'm not saying she's a dog nor a pony.
No offense to pony.
She might be a pony. She sounds like Mrs. Howell from Gilligan's Island, and I can't listen to her because she's like, yes, we need to have reparations, and yes, I will support whoever the nominee is for the. I'm like, what? Seriously, you sound like a cartoon. And you're already saying that if Joe whoever wins the nomination, you're just gonna back him. You're just like, because we gotta fight those evil Republicans. Go get you, that sort of thing.
Right now, we are dealing with a neo-fascist authoritarian movement inside the United States that is threatening our democracy.
My pearls need clutching.
It's exhausting to me. And then to keep seeing people kind of being captured by it is disappointing, and we all know who those people are, and there's no reason to overly hate on them, because remember, I bought an Obama Hope and Change t-shirt. Like, sometimes like that type of stuff just takes time, and so I don't hate anyone that at this point now I look back and I see them like regressively. Whenever I used to have those same thoughts, and I might have written that like diatribe about like, you're not being serious about politics, grow up. Well, I remember kind of having that same mindset, and that means that I know that people can change, which is one of the reasons why, for example, I get irritated with the really, really just nasty way that people refer to people in the South, Republicans, deplorable, a depraved and deranged audience. It's really irritating to me, because I know that people can be convinced, and I know that they can be changed.
Yeah, it's like I always try to preach when I'm on my my traveling preacher circuit in the tent there, getting people for the revival. I always tell them, I say, look, electoral politics is not the way to do things these days. For one thing, they don't listen to us. These politicians don't listen. You've seen these town halls where like Jose Vega and our buddy Lucy and other folks have gone and are like saying, asking these politicians these questions that the mainstream media is not asking them. And of course they'll go on later and say, oh, these Republicans came in and started heckling us and stuff like that. And it's all spin, because they know the questions that they're being asked, they can't answer honestly, or at least in public honestly, because then the game's up, right? And people like her who are she's rightfully getting called out for this too. And people who are platforming her, I'm sorry, I said this on Twitter the other day, y'all ain't nothing but, if you're platforming her, y'all ain't nothing but a bunch of clout chasers, because she is the queen of clout chasing herself, right?
Go ahead. 100% I agree. The only reason that you platform one of these people is to expose them. That's it.
Yeah. And that's the thing, though. It's like these platforms that she's been on, they're not exposing her. They're not asking her tough questions. And when she did go on RBN, she said, and got some tough questions from them. She said they were mansplaining, and then she just, clutched the pearls again. How does she think she's going to do, like, in a debate? I mean, yeah, debating Joe Biden, it's not really that hard these days.
All right. You might have convinced me. Marianne has a 0.03 chance of winning the presidency. Now that you've said that. No, I mean, it's not going to be a debate, especially every single time Joe Biden says something. She's just going to, I agree with you, Joe.
Yeah.
And it's not going to work. I mean, it's just not serious. And like Due Dissidents had that clip where, I saw it at least on Keaton's Twitter feed, where, they place the no dirty break. And she basically says, oh, no, I'm here to lick boots.
Yeah.
All the boots.
Yeah.
I mean, I won't even lick them. I'll swallow them, guys. Like, just give them. I'll take it all, because that's literally what she's doing.
I'm hungry for some boots. I need me some shoe leather. Delicious for my diet. Ed says if RFK gets in there, she's toast in the debates. I don't think RFK is going to make it that far either. They're both trying to run in the Democratic primary. I'm like, what the hell's wrong with you?
Oh, is that really what RFK is doing?
He hasn't announced, but he said if he did, he would run to get the nomination. And I'm like,
in the Democratic Party?
Yeah. Like,
better be careful. He'll end up like a,
easy. Easy. Wait a minute.
Sorry. Didn't even make it 30 minutes.
That's my 2 cutaway limit for the show, and I blew my wad at 8:27. I have rules I set upon myself. But no. Well, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. If anybody who's a serious contender, they're gonna like get him out of the way one way or another. I mean, Bernie. I don't know what they did to Bernie. Maybe they had the goods on his wife. Maybe his wife was up to some nefarious shit, and they said, well, okay, we're going to expose your wife for doing all this nefarious stuff. Maybe. And he was like, okay, I'll play ball. Joe's my friend. More boots, please. I don't know.
He's just a liberal, man. He's just a liberal. I mean, he's not a leftist. He's a liberal.
He's always been kind of hawkish, too. He's always been like, he hasn't really been the peace stuff. He's always been kind of hawkish, always supporting the wars and stuff that we're in.
He used to hang out with people like me, and they broke over his decision on the Yugoslavian war.
Yeah. So
he's been that way for a very long time. Now, at the time, whenever I was first getting into Bernie, I didn't know that, So, but once I kind of got disillusioned with Bernie, that's whenever I started looking it up, and I realized, hey, he's kind of always been bad at this. And there are plenty of people in history that have taken sort of the same path that Bernie took, and they always end up giving in to the right and throwing the leftists under the bus. That is the history of people that are like Bernie, that don't have that courage. They're always going to toss, I would say, perhaps the economic left under the bus, the economic and anti-war left under the bus.
Well, he's done it 2 election cycles in a row. So who's to say he wouldn't do it again this time if he runs again? I don't think he's going to run again because his good friend Joe already said he's going to run for re-election. So it's just. I always tell people, it's like, we have to, the outside game is the only way that we can do now. We can't rely on any of these politicians to do the inside game for us. No matter what their intentions are going in, we know how the sausage is made now. You go in, you get the talk from the party leaders saying this is what's going to happen. If you want to do A, B, and C for your district, you're going to play ball with us. If not only will you not get that, you're not going to get any assignments any panel assignments. You're not going to get, and you're going to get primaried too. We're going to put somebody in there that will play ball, and that's how the machine works.
And you're gonna see the other footage from Dealey Plaza that no one's seen yet. You know, that's literally what's gonna happen.
they show they show Lee Harvey in the books depository. I always want to say depository.
Being like, where was that?
The babushka. Turns out the babushka lady had a gun. Like everybody in the car had a gun and they were pointing it at him. You just didn't see it on the Zapruder film for some reason because the CIA edited it out.
It's one of my favorite like memes, like that dumb Spider-Man meme where they're all just like pointing at each other. Like that's the footage. It's literally like everyone just like pointing everything at JFK. And it wasn't a lone man theory, it was an everyman theory.
Yeah, everybody. Well, it was Texas. Everybody was packing, so you know. You know, you're gonna go for a ride with the top down in Dallas. You know, you better might want to wear a helmet there, Chief.
Come on, you're asking for it.
You're kind of asking for it, but I have this.
This is another thing that I will have to say about the South. There are the vast majority of gun owners that I know, including my father, and you know all that other type of stuff. They are pretty serious about gun safety for the most part. You know, there are always people that don't follow it and aren't careful about it, but a lot of people are very, very careful about that.
Yeah,
you know, I just don't want to.
I grew up with we had hunter safety courses. The park rangers would come to the school, and you know they would teach us like about ecology and stuff like that. But they also taught us gun safety, right? So how to load a gun, how to hold it. You know, rule number 1: don't point it at something that you're not going to shoot, or you don't have no intention on shooting. So you had
like one of the big rules is if like you never point a gun at anybody, if whether it's loaded or not, until that person can physically check the gun and see if it's loaded, and so that they know it's not loaded, and then you're fine to wave it around. You know, but not until then. But I know friends that had classes like that, but since I was homeschooled, we just got like the bells. Like my mom got us like one of those courses where we could do bells, like ding ding, like to the colors. So I'm very cultured.
Bells. You getting all fancy up on this show. We ain't used to this highbrow shit.
Bell music.
But you know, but you being from the South, you know that there's like a shit ton of deer hunters down there, squirrel hunters, rabbit hunters, all kinds of hunters down there. So you have to be safe in the woods because there's a lot of fuckers in the woods, right? They're all doing the same thing, you know. You sit up in a tree, but you're wearing like an orange vest so nobody can, so nobody pops you by accident, that sort of thing. I'm not a gun enthusiast. I've shot a few guns in my time. And I understand why people, especially in the rural South, would want to have those, right? Because when I was growing up, you could sleep, you could go to sleep and not lock the doors, right? Out in the country, nobody was going to mess with you because they knew everybody had guns. You bust up in somebody's house unannounced, somebody gonna get 2 barrels. So nobody fucked with you. But then, with the rise of drugs like meth, you had a lot of people out in the county in secret spots, cooking that crystal. And people with the pot fields out in the middle of nowhere. There's a lot of guns everywhere. So
yeah, well, I mean, pot fields are totally fine. I'm not a huge fan of like a lot of the other drug kind of running, like cocaine, crack cocaine, methamphetamines, poppy, all that other type of stuff, because that's one of the rat lines, so I'm not a huge fan of that stuff. Those are terrible. Those destroyed communities. And it's still going on. We've just done it we're just doing it in a different form now, with like the opioid issue.
It's a lot easier.
It's just a different form. It's more highbrow. They've gotten more elite. You
didn't really see cocaine that much in the South. Maybe the politicians or like the rich people had it. But then 80s came along, you got the crack, and then like more 90s. I guess that's when crystal meth started proliferating a good bit. They were talking about cocaine in the chat a little while ago. I was like, what the
Hell
fuck,
yeah, you guys got
man?
any?
Focus, eyes up here.
Oh, sorry.
So it's a nice little segue. It's like, hey, we went from cocaine to cocaine and cocaine. But you know, but we also knew down south that we weren't just giving our guns to anybody to use, right? Like I never had cousins because we all had our own guns. Dad had his own. He had a double barrel shotgun. Well, I think it was single barrel. I think he had a 30-06 and he had a 22 rifle that he'd shoot armadillos with because the armadillos would just tear up the fucking yards. And you'd be sleeping in the middle of the night, you hear, and you're like, what the fuck?
I know, but they're so cute. I really do. I do think they're cute.
I didn't want them murdered. Dad's the one out there
I know.
My dad's out there in his boxers and a wife beater, and he's got like this, you know, motherfuckers tearing up my yard. Because he was like all about that yard, right? He cultivated it and shit like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
It's just a yard, dude.
That's a very deep vibe, you know, down in the South. It's just like my freaking hibiscus, you know, like all of my like plants, like anything like that. Like we're very proud of lawns down here.
And well, we have so much open space too.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
It's like
it really is true.
You know, living in LA and New York, the last 20 years has just really made me appreciate that little patch of heaven that we had out in Big Level, Mississippi. It was like about 3 miles away from the little town there, and the closest neighbor was like a quarter mile away. You know, you could do the whole pee off the back porch, nobody's gonna see you kind of thing. You know, that country stuff. Walking around barefoot, stepping in dog shit, and then you get the hose, and then you just wash your feet down. I had a girlfriend here in New York. I told her about that. She's, you walked barefoot?
What?
In grass. With no shoes? You stepped in dog shit? I said, yeah, you let it squish around a little bit, and then you just take the hose and wash it off. You know, come on, it's summertime.
Yeah,
you know?
I think the thing that people don't realize is that you can walk barefoot and step in shit and still read books. Like,
yeah, right.
Or still comprehend things, or still be intelligent, you know. And people seem to have this idea that the more facts you can rattle off, the more statistics you can rattle off, the more like deep knowledge that you have on a particular subject makes you important or more worthy to hear from or anything like that. And that's not the case. The smartest people I've kind of ever met, as far as like world smarts, knowing how to get things done, you know, that they've always been people that haven't always had the best life circumstances. Believe it or not, people being poor and desperate actually makes them pretty quick.
Yeah.
Really able to kind of analyze because they're under threat. So they have to have an ability to creatively think, to get themselves out of a solution and, you know, be creative and analyze things. So
when you grow up poor, you really do have to get creative with things. And my old man was like he's the champ at that. I mean, this was a guy who was born right before the crash of 29. You know, my dad was I was the last chance at a boy, so my parents were a lot older than most parents were. So he grew up in the Great Depression. Yeah. You know, and so he was greatest generation. My mom was silent generation. My two older sisters are boomers and I'm Gen X. So like we're all over the place, but he instilled in us a work ethic. Not like this bullshit work ethic where you got to go someplace and make money for some fucker that's like exploiting your labor or whatever. He was talking about an actual work ethic for yourself, like how you do things not only for yourself but for others too, and you put the work in for others as well. We were very socialist. We just didn't call it that. You know, we would grow. I've said this on the show many times. We had a big giant food garden. We'd grow a bunch of shit, give half of it away to neighbors and friends and family. And
were you calling them victory gardens at that point, or was that just something that was kind of organic in the community?
No, it's that's what you did. It was just like,
Yeah, that's what I thought, because I've heard the same thing from some of my older relatives and their friends.
These were Dad had a huge garden. It was like half the size of a football field. That's how big it was. And he had like fruits and vegetables in there. And he did that on purpose because he knew he was going to give a lot of it away, right? And the cousins who were deer hunters, they would come around and they'd give us deer steaks and stuff, and we'd give them vegetables, that sort of thing. It was, and you took care of one another, right? If your neighbor needed help or something like that, you go help them, right? Because sometimes you're going to need help too. And sometimes the neighbors would come over and help you, and living in the cities, you just don't see that. You see people more just kind of like isolated amongst themselves, just like, I don't want to really get to know these people, my neighbors or whatever, because what if they're weirdos, or what if they're this, or what if they're that, and then you lose that trust factor, and then you start losing the trust factor in humanity in general, right?
Yes, and then you were able to project onto people. Once you've lost that connection, you're able to project onto people whatever it is that the mainstream narrative is. If it's all black people are criminal and dangerous, you project that. All white people are backwards, play banjo, and hate everyone, then that's the projection that gets put on you. That is simply from having sort of that isolation and that absolutely just like the breaking of any type of community bonds or any type of just generalized neighborliness,
And apparently there used to be that here in New York, because you had more the neighborhood feel where your neighbors actually talk to each other, and sometimes they'd clash, but a lot of times they'd share cultures with each other too. And now that gentrification has pretty much wiped out this city, to where you don't see generations of people here anymore. It's all people like me, I guess not carpetbaggers, reverse carpetbaggers, people coming from outside, going to the big cities. And to be honest with you, I'm fed up with New York. I really want to get out of here. But it's hard to move. It's the economy these days. It's just like a lot of times you're stuck. Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Oh yeah, I mean that's kind of one of those whole things. Like, and trust me, like, I'm saying this, like, I come from a middle class background. There's never been a single day in my life that I've ever been hungry, but I have a lot of friends that have been that way, and a lot of people that I really care about. And so that's where I get informed on that. Like, it's a very real circumstance to me in that way, since it was just so tangentially like connected with me. But it's just, I don't know, that type of stuff, it really has an impact on how it is that people really form their life views. And I think that we just have this thing where, especially in cities, what happens? People hold up signs and say they need money and they need food. And what do? You roll up your window and you do this when you're at a stop sign. It has nothing to do with actually looking at people and seeing anything about them and their humanity and their needs. And it's disturbing.
Yeah, it really does shape your worldview, the way you're raised that way too. We even though we grew up like pretty much dirt poor, we never wanted for anything, right? We always had food. We always had clothes on our back. We always had a roof over our head. And what we couldn't afford, we just made, right? My dad he built our house.
Oh, really?
Back in he was the guy was brilliant. Can do like very complex mathematical equations in his head. He didn't even have a blueprint for the house. He just had this vision of how he wanted it built, and then he just started building it. He made the frame, made the foundation, everything. Of course we helped out, but he was doing the majority of the work because it was his vision. But he literally provided the roof over our heads. Yeah, and that thing survived like a few hurricanes too. That thing was like made out of like this green pine that's like, it's like concrete wood. Once it's on there, you ain't prying that shit off. So.
Damn. Well, I mean, just much like Scranton Joe, you know, just as dirt under the fingernails as old working class Joe.
Yeah,
That
the only
Marianne's gonna
dirty. He only dirt he got under his fingernails is probably because some dirt that was on the seat on the train that he was on. That fucking guy.
more on the money he's laundered.
Yeah, that's probably why he's fucked up. Because you know every legal tender bill has a little trace of cocaine on it, and you know he's probably just like rolled around in the, you know, I don't want to like give a mental picture of Joe Biden rolling around naked in money, but.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's doing that anyway. He's rolling around in something. He doesn't know what substance it is, but he's doing it. It's, you know, they've probably got to like do that a couple of times. It's sort of like a coding for like a recipe. They got to roll him around in it, you know, for the next big speech he's got to give where they don't want him to embarrass himself. You know, something like that.
I was gonna go the route of he was rolling around in the poop in his pants, cause he's a bit of a pooper. He's a bit of a pooper. Sorry, what happened?
Yeah, we also I think just one of the things that we were kind of going to talk about was just like leftist humor, you know?
Oh yeah. So you were talking about, before the show we were talking about, you know, you come on Do Dissonance every once in a while, and you're a supporter of the show as well, because you're kind of drawn to that kind of show. So why don't you explain to the folks what you were talking about?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, I mean, I am like, just because this is where people know me from, you know, I found Do Dissonance mostly through the Vanguard thing. I know that they've mentioned that was a big thing for their subscribers, but that's because I follow a lot of like international politics and sort of anti-imperialist politics, you know? So I pretty much always kind of follow the Gray Zone guys, and that's how I found them. So it wasn't necessarily that I was like, oh yeah, I love like the beefs between people, but they were funny, and that's important. The whole inability of the left, or some parts of the left, to like be able to take jokes is a huge detriment to any working class movement that you can possibly grow in a country. As a leftist, and if you are going to lead a working class movement, you must, it is essential to have humor, because humor is an essential way that the working class communicates. If you do not have it, you will never lead the working class.
Yeah. That's what we try to do on this show. We attempt humor. I don't know if we necessarily achieve it or not, but we give it the old college try, because I mean, that's all part of, it's all part of the communication process too. It's like, you know, the old adage, like you put a little sugar in the cough medicine so the baby will take it, you know, it's because it won't taste as bad, right? So that's a lot of, I mean, that, hell, if you people that watched the Daily Show with Jon Stewart, that was the same, that was his formula, you know, to use comedy to get people to listen to these atrocious things that were going on in the world, right? Kind of like that movie, was it Life is Beautiful, where they're at the concentration camp and the father is making his son think that this is all some sort of game, that it's not real and all that kind of stuff. And that's the way it tends to go, right, with these shows. And some shows are,
and I totally agree with you, but I actually want to take it back to like the root, you know? So the way that working class is great. A lot of like old, like work with your hands, blue collar, like working class coal miners, railroad workers, anything like that. What do those jobs entail? They entail usually having some amount of teamwork, and it's usually in a very dangerous environment, right? Part of the way that you know that you can trust a member of your team is if you can take a damn joke, okay? Yeah. That's one of the reasons why being able to take a joke and being able to engage in humor for the left is incredibly important. It's how the working class trusts each other, and it's how they communicate when they're on the job. Whenever everything's going cool, I experience this just in healthcare. You know, not every case that we do, not every patient that we see is an absolute emergency and a disaster. Most of the time it's not that way. But when those moments are kind of chill and calm, we kind of haze each other a little bit. and we see if we can like get along and if we can communicate. Because whenever you really get into the weeds, you're going to have to talk loudly. You're going to have to not worry about being rude. And you're going to have, it's that part of communication for the working class. It's that trust that humor builds that is absolutely essential, and what a lot of people really don't understand. But everyone wants to get offended about it instead of realizing that that's how people communicate. And one of the reasons why Donald Trump was effective.
Yeah, he's pretty funny. I mean, he's an asshole. I can't stand him, but that guy's funny. He really is. And people, they latch on to that. Because it's like, in small communities and whatnot, I'm sure everywhere, but humor is a huge part of the community, right? There's always some jokers in the community that like you hear like your aunt or somebody like, well, that old so-and-so over there, he's crazy. He always likes, talking to pigs, and, he thinks he's a fish and all this stuff, all this crazy stuff. But it turns out that person has like a lot of skills too. And, maybe just like a great mechanic or something like that, or it's like, a very successful farmer or something like that, but they just happen to have an offbeat sense of humor. And these days, there's just way too many thin skins, and for the wrong reasons too, right? It's just like people are looking, it's almost like they want to be offended so that they can lash out at you, not for you personally, but just to get all their poison out for every bad thing that's every time they got fucked over or whatever in their life. All of a sudden you get it just because you made like some sort of corny joke or something like that they didn't appreciate.
Yeah, pretty much. I feel like this was the perfect setup for you to use one of your sound effects, and you kind of missed it. But I'm just,
Look, we are a professional show here. Tusker, is it? I know you're fresh on the scene, but we don't.
Are you about to mansplain this to me?
For this particular show, we are deadly serious, and we do not do these stupid sound bites.
Get your hand off my penis!
What the hell was that? I don't. Wait. There's cows. Judgmental cows will get you every time. But yeah, so the moral of the story is don't have a thin skin, especially these days. We need all the thick skin we can get.
Right.
We're right on the edge. I mean, shit's bad now. Shit's gonna get a lot worse, and people need to and we're gonna need humor to kind of break the tension a lot of times. You know what I mean?
It's a soothing mechanism too.
Well, yeah, laughter, like the Reader's Digest says, laughter is the best medicine, right? And sometimes you just need a little distraction from the craziness that's going on. Right? Sometimes you just need a breather from it. You just need to take yourself away from it for a second, because it'll just drive you fucking crazy. Because we're so individually, we're very helpless to change anything significant in the system. It's just a matter of just trying to get together with everybody else who thinks the same way, that knows the system is broken, and trying to avoid those walls that are put up to divide us all. Right? Because that's the thing. They know. The elites know, the oligarchy knows that if we all got together single-mindedly and took them on, they would be totally fucked. So that's why you see the left so fragmented and fractured the way it is. I mean, what do you think about that?
I mean, I 100% agree. And the thing that is the most disappointing about it is that they seem the people that fall victim to that are the people that just seem unable to see how divisive that type of outlook on the world really is. It's not at all like looking to build something. It seeks to destroy. It's impossible to get anything done if you're constantly pushing people out and getting rid of people and not having patience with people. That's been one of my things. It's like, I believe in patience with people. I mean, I just the same thing that I tell people about what they consider backward Southerners or something like that. They're not actually that way. You know, most of the time they just don't understand why, you know, and if you have someone that in good faith attempts to explain it to them instead of being like, you racist, you'll never understand. Well, obviously that's offensive. You know, they work with Black people all the time. They live in communities with them. They do all that other type of stuff. And they're like, how in the hell am I possibly that way? I know these people and all that other type of stuff. So that's offensive, you know, and it's the same way the other way, you know, for like any type of leftist to sit there and say the same thing that the Democrats say to other leftists. And they think that that's going to win them any type of points or build any type of movement. It's not.
Let me ask you this. Whenever you're speaking to people, see, you're kind of like me. You don't really, I can kind of hear a little bit of a Southern accent, but not really. So like when you talk to people that are not from the South, that they don't know you, right? They don't know where you're from. And then what happens when they do find out where you're from? Like if you don't tell them right off the bat, how do they react to you, especially after you give them your opinions about stuff?
Normally like I'm a unicorn. Normally like I'm like I'm crazy. But I mean seriously, but also there is a reason for that. It's not an act, it's not a show, it's just my voice. I was born in the South, and then my dad got a job opportunity up in like Iowa and Indiana. And so I have sort of like a little bit of a cross there. And then we moved back here whenever some of my relatives started to get older. And that was around whenever I was maybe like 11. So I had like a 5-minute or like a 5-year like period where during my formative like learning how to speak years was kind of up north. That's the reason why I say like, I say Coke down here and I don't say soda pop, you know? So I have like this weird like cross transition, but lots of times if people hear me speak and they're up north, they're like, holy shit. And they think I sound like a banjo. And I'm like, I literally, like, I know how to speak banjo. Like I work with dudes that speak this. And I'm like, you think I speak that way? No way. But then if I talk to people in the South, they're like, where are you from? In California? Where you, I mean, like they think it's the opposite. So it's really, really weird.
Banjo sounds like some sort of made up language that you could find at a travel store where they sell books. Like for the longest time, I didn't know Tagalog. Tagalog was an actual language. I worked at a bookstore and I found that out. And I was like, Tagalog, that sounds made up. I don't think that's real. And then it's like, nah, it's real.
Okay. So, for example, here I'll try to do banjo, but it's like a dude said it, so it's harder for me to do like the dude vocals with it. So one of my favorite moments that I've ever had is we had like this one like dipshit doctor, and you know they like left the room and they weren't paying attention, and the patient started like coding, you know, like they needed CPR and they needed a doctor to kind of come run the code. But he was so busy having like a Mensa meeting with all the other doctors, he wasn't like seeing us being like fucking. And we were like, but you can't interrupt doctors. They're kings. You don't do that stuff. But you know, so finally, one of my coworkers, it was just like, "Hey, doc, better get in here, do some CPR." It was just like, I know that sounds like more nerds, but it's just this everything runs together, and it's just this like kind of cadence, like, "Yo, doc, better get in here." You know, it's that type of thing. It just everything goes together in a song, and people talk to each other in like medical terms that way down here. That's what I'm saying. I speak it fluently. I can hear anyone.
Scott in the chat said she sounds like a Yankee to me.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's down here in the South. Everyone thinks I'm a Yankee, but if you're like far up north, people will hear the twang.
You didn't have me fooled. I heard the way you used y'all, and the way you said y'all. That's a dead giveaway. Now some of these city folks have been trying to say y'all. They'll say y'all, but it sounds so Yankeefied. It's just like it just doesn't sound right.
Okay,
like
so what was it? What was y'all?
Y'all. Hey y'all. Hey they're all Yankee. They're all talking Yankee, and all of a sudden they say, "Hey, y'all, let's go do this sort of thing."
It is more. It's definitely more of the y'all, and it's kind of like what they do. They go now, don't do that. It's the scolding type thing.
They hey Wesley, it's good to see you. California Fools here too. We got a bunch of people came out to see you, doll. Good thing.
Thanks,
you're
I'm
very
sorry.
popular. You're so popular with all these people. Oh my. I like to do that voice around here. I do my I got it from this lady. I used to work at Trader Joe's, and we'd be at the registers together, and we'd give stickers to the kids, right? You peel off, you roll off about 4 or 5 stickers, give it to them. And every time she would be right next to me and would just be the loudest motherfucker I've ever heard in this planet. And she would say, "Hey, how you doing, honey? You want some stickers?" I'm like, Jesus Lord, I will never get hearing back in that left ear. So you want some stickers? Why don't look at you? You're so skinny. Why don't you get some soup? That's what we found out, that Southern mamas everywhere are the same. They all want to feed you. You're always too skinny. Yeah. You could be 300 pounds and they'd be like, "Look at you. You're just skin and bones. Come on. I'm making some biscuits. You like biscuits. Come on in here. We're going to make you a little chicken biscuit."
You're also growing like a weed down here.
Yeah, right? I the last time I saw my sisters in person, they thought I was like on death's door. And I was just like, really, I was thin, because I'm naturally thin anyway. Once I got, I hit like the drinking beer stage and smoking pot stage, well, that fucked the metabolism. But still, whenever I'm skinny, I feel light and I can do stuff. I don't get out of breath when I go upstairs. And these people are just like, "Look at you, you're like a skeleton." And so my ex, her mom is Chinese mom, right? So she rarely speaks English. She would rarely speak English around me, but she'd look at me. She'd go, "You need food. Come on, I'm making some food. Come in here, get some food." It's like, God damn it! What is it with moms and wanting to feed you? It's like, I thought that was just a Southern thing.
Because it's just like it's a prime necessity of people. You need shelter. You need food. You need medicine. You need education.
Yeah, it's good that the moms
that's
do
what
that,
it's tied to. I mean, if you have like any type of that like nurturing type personality, which most of the time once someone's had a kid, it kind of just comes, then you can go around trying to feed people and do that stuff. Or you're a Karen who just had kids for a status symbol, and you just want them to go play video games while you drink wine and bitch about the PTA meeting. I don't know.
Yeah, the iPad is the babysitter. The iPad is the parent. I figured you'd like this. Screw Google is another Southerner. In New Orleans, people say, hey, get me a Coke. Well, what kind of Coke you want? Give me a Sprite.
Yep.
But I had the hybrid too. I had my mom was from Detroit, so we always called it pop. We had to go to the store and get some pop. Y'all go get some pop. So I know the pop. No. But we did the cut around my friends though. We go somewhere and we like go to eat somewhere, and they'd say, and we say, "What you want to drink?" So give me a Coke. And she said, "Well, we got Sprite, we got Dr. Pepper, and we got Coca-Cola, we got well, give me a Barks, give me a root beer." All right. How's your mom and them?
And the only time that the Coke designation actually means Coke is when you're trying to figure out if the restaurant serves Pepsi beverages or Coke beverages. And once you determine that it's the Coke brand, then you give the list of Coke products and you choose from that list of Coke.
Or they think you're doing a line of powder.
That too.
What? Anyway,
but just the white powder cocaine, that's way too rich for these parts.
I know, right? They're up there in their RVs in the middle of nowhere cooking that crystal now. I'm glad I missed the crystal phase down south. Thank goodness. Ed Heller bringing in the RC Cola, please. Squirt!
Hey!
Fuck yeah.
Oh my God.
RC Cola, Squirt. They had all
Squirt?
kinds of weird cola. They had let's see, Scramble was a brand down south. Elf Cola.
Oh no, we love Mountain Dew. That's probably one of the I would have to say that's probably the only soda like product in the South that people go, I want a Mountain Dew. Everything else is like, you know, but everyone knows Mountain Dew. You do that. That is
On
just
the,
like that's coffee for the working class, I think, like, because you know you can't like carry around your mug like if you're on a construction site or something like that. That's the reason why there's Mountain Dew everywhere.
And in the South too, you're gonna have the big ones, like the big like gallon jugs too, from the Circle K.
Oh yeah.
You know, or the Quickie.
Yeah,
Mart,
you see it all the time. Like, you know, people like, you know, guys like piling out of like whatever vehicle, and they all go in there, and it's all like the 64-ounce like, you know, soda fountain Mountain Dew.
That's why half the South is rolling around on hover-rounds down there. You know, you see them in the Walmart. I think down south they have extra carts because they know there's some eating folks that are going to be coming up in there. So, Faygo,
I
Mr.
mean,
Pibb.
I think it's just because of just kind of like sort of like the history of. I mean, it's kind of always been an impoverished area. I mean, sure, there were a lot of like wealthy cotton barons like way back in the day, but the vast majority of everyone else was just kind of poor. It's kind of always been desperate. So, you know, there are a lot of like unhealthy comfort foods that are just like staples, and you know, those kind of get in there. And then if you grow up poor and you finally are able to kind of like eat on a more consistent basis, it is kind of like a therapy in a way. You know?
Snorky says, I drink Mountain Dew Zero Berry Moon at least twice a week. And you've lived to tell the tale.
I don't even think I've ever heard of that one.
Ed says Faygo is the origin of pop, aka red pop. But
yeah,
why?
I did know that. I had a boyfriend that was a juggalo years ago, so I did know that about Faygo.
Damn, name drop. My boyfriend was a juggalo. Name drop.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, super cool.
Hey, I smoked weed with the drummer
juggalo.
from. I smoked weed with the drummer from Cypress Hill. So, it was that good Cali weed. Cool. I was insane in the membrane. I was insane.
Oh yeah, that was one of the things. We would just like switch between, you know, Insane Clown Posse and Cypress Hill, and then Metallica every now and then.
It was a simpler time, that's for sure.
It was a simpler time then. We weren't at each other's throats back then. We just got screwed and didn't say anything about it.
The internet ruined everything. I think that's what fucked up society is the internet. We have too much communication with people, and not enough of the good kind, too much of the bad kind. So, well, here we are.
I mean, maybe perhaps, but I would also say, and this is, I mean, as far as like social media algorithms go, I mean, I really think that what these companies have done for their profit, they've made a really, really effective algorithm. And I think that all it is it's just like a mirror of your culture, you know? And if you have a disassociated and disconnected culture, and then you're looking for media to parrot back to you what you're already feeling, it's not, like if you talk about TikTok, that's not a Chinese weapon. That's just your society eating itself alive. Yeah. And there's an algorithm that's mirroring that back to you. And that's the difference. If that's what you're sort of looking for and expecting, and that's what you assume of society, then that's what you're going to get back. And that's what's fraying. Is it that no one, you're right, like real connection, real communication has been kind of thrown out the window. And instead we do like these transactional commodification type exercises of communication. And I think that's what it is. Everyone's trying to sell themselves to someone else.
Yeah.
And it does.
There's a lot of this too. There's a lot of looking down and not looking around. I know that sounds like an old fart thing to say, but It is. There's a lot of people that just do not give a fuck about their surroundings whatsoever,
Yeah. Well,
and tend
well,
to
we
get into
have that.
trouble because they're not paying attention. You know, I mean, that's
Oh
before
yeah,
the
yeah.
internet.
People look at their phones, right?
Yeah,
You know, you
and
just pick up on like the last thing.
I mean, yeah, you could get
That's
good communications through the phone. Like if you're reading, like, you know, your Twitter or whatever, and there's people on there with good takes or whatever. You're like, yeah, that's a good way to get information. But you gotta look up sometimes. You gotta, you know, look around, check out the scene, you know, before it all changes. And the next thing you know, you look up and it's like, how did this get this way? And you know, you're 80 years old and you're still looking at the phone. So
Right. And it's just like an endless recycle, you know, of whatever. You know, hey, I don't know if you pay attention to it at all, but like it came across, you know, I mean, I watch it, or at least I like listen to it. That Brianna Joy Gray interviewed Matt Taibbi about the recent Twitter files. Did you catch any of that?
some of it, a little bit of it, yeah.
What do you
Well,
think?
I don't know. I'm always skeptical of I mean, I like Matt Taibbi, don't get me wrong, and Brianna
Yeah.
Joy to a certain extent too. But nowadays I've been burned too many times by people that I've trusted, like, to get my information from. So I'm not distrusting, but I'm just very, very cautious about, like, the Twitter files in general. I think it should have been opened up to all journalists to get a crack at it, I think. So I think just give it, even though Matt is a good guy to give it to, they should have also, I mean, they gave it to a few other journalists too, but they should have opened it up to everybody and to totally expose it. So, because that, to me, that just kind of gives it a shroud of something's not quite right here. So you don't get to take in the information that those things provide without some sort of level of skepticism that you didn't already have already. You know, there's like that added, like, okay, what's the angle? I'm always looking for the angles nowadays. That, what is your angle? What is your angle?
I'm absolutely the same way. That's the reason why, like, I was just curious because, like, I just seen it. I haven't gotten a chance to talk to anyone about it. And I was like, oh, okay, great. I'll talk. You'll be my guinea pig. But it was weird because it's like, I see both sides, but I'm talking about at one point, it gets really uncomfortable, like really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like Matt Taibbi is just like, I chose to focus on the security state. I'm sorry. You know, and it's like, we're kind of, Brianna just kept bringing up like these points of like the 2016, like what happened to the Sanders supporters. And Matt Taibbi is like, I'm literally talking about multiple governmental organizations that are controlling the levers of power and manipulating events all over the world. And then it's like, can we talk about Sanders and why snake emojis? Why? I mean,
Yeah.
it's just kind of that level. I don't know. And I hate to like bust on, they both do good work, you know. I don't agree with either one of them 100%. There's hardly anyone I agree with 100%, you know. But
Yeah.
I just thought I was just wanting to bounce it off someone. It was just really interesting to me.
Yeah, I think the information that he shared was pretty fascinating. Not too surprising in light of the fact that a lot of us were saying this stuff like a couple of years ago too. You know, there's more and more Nostradamuses are coming out of the woodwork predicting this kind of stuff. So, you know, but that's the thing. It's like with any people who are latching on to, just bringing it full circle, people who are latching on to Marianne Williamson for some sort of hope to defeat Joe Biden. It just reminds me that not everybody is quite awakened to the facts of what's going on behind the scenes, right? And because the government's they're not hiding it from us anymore. They're boldly telling you, you know, saying this stuff that they're doing, and telling you, you're not going to get this, you're not going to get this, you know, but make sure you vote for me, because it's either us or, you know, the El Diablo, you know, and they're just going to keep doing that till it keeps working, until it stops working, I guess. And I don't know when that's going to be.
It's been really, really effective. Like that, and like this is kind of one of those things. It's like I'm so sick of covering Marianne Williamson. I'm just sick of talking about her.
Yeah.
Like I am. But guess what? We have to still keep talking about her.
Well, it's
because
like you said,
people still keep being, maybe there's a chance. It's irritating.
As long as these people are still thrusting themselves into the public spotlight, you have to expose them. You really do.
Exactly.
And sunlight is the best disinfectant, they say. And
yeah.
But it also it helps people that would probably never get a platform at all to shine through too, and you get to hear what they say too. So it's a blessing and a curse, you know. But
right.
as long as there's censorship going on, I mean that is, you're not going to have any kind of level playing field to talk about these issues like that when people are just like cutting you out, getting you banned off social media platforms and stuff like that. It's just that's not a society. That's a fragmented mess.
I will have to say, at this point, I'm almost pro like Marianne Williamson censorship. Like,
oh, she's just awful. Girl, I've been wanting to dish all week.
Just like, just like, oh God, this again. It's because like what we're talking about censorship of people that never get heard. And I'm talking about like, oh my God, we can't stop. Would you please just but I agree. I mean, that is important. You have to have all sides, but that's the problem. We don't have all sides. We got one side. Yeah. And it's we got basically the corporate Democratic side.
We got both sides of a shitty coin, basically.
Exactly.
A coin you can't even spend. So, well, Tusker, you've kept me long enough on your show.
Yeah, my bad.
This was your show tonight.
I forgot I was in control here.
Extra Bulla with Auntie Tusker. That's going to be the spin-off. But you got to get your own Russell apartment. Sorry, this is proprietary. I can't loan this out to anybody. So
that's okay. I'm in the one over, like right next door. It's just I'm cool with the landlord, and he just antagonizes him.
Seriously, these shelves are gonna fall. They're probably gonna fall within the next 5 before the show's even over. So Russell, if you're listening to this, I'd be really surprised if you were. You should fix your shelves, brother. Seriously, that may be an OSHA safety hazard back there. I mean, that skull, dude. That's definitely an OSHA thing. So, but I just want to say thanks for coming on. I know it's kind of wild. You were like, wow, why are you inviting me for? And I said, because you're cool. And only cool people are on this show because I need more friends.
Yeah.
So, but if you want to, we have your information, like your Twitter handle, Tusker2, TOO, on the screen and in the description below. Tell us.
I will have to say I am a lame follow because I usually just use Twitter for news, and then every time whenever I see something that I kind of think is important, I retweet it. Like I hardly ever go, and now I think this. Like I just. I'm pretty I spend most of my time in YouTube and like working in my political party,
I was gonna say maybe for you have some really good takes, and maybe you should be a little more vocal out there. Just watch, as Mom used to say. She said, "I don't worry about you. I worry about the nuts out there that are gonna get my baby." So I don't want any nuts out there getting you. So be careful. But it would be good to hear your voice more. You have some really good opinions, and the kids stuck around for it too. Everybody in the chat, and so appreciate everybody coming out to watch the show tonight. It was fun. I knew this was going to be fun. I always go into these shows knowing they're going to be fun, and they always end up being extra fun by the end. So that's why I keep doing it. Keeps me young and spry in that regard. So, but what do you have anything going on? Are you going to be on anybody else's shows? You're going to be back on Due Distance? What's going on with you?
No, I mean, like, literally, I'm literally just a fan, and I just, because they have that call-in feature on their show, and so I called in, and we kind of got along, and that was it. I have nothing to promote. I'm always down to talk politics because I like talking about it and stuff like that with people, and it is kind of hard to find people like that think in common, with me in these parts. So I'm always down to talk about it, but I have nothing to promote. I literally just like my friends and like the creators that already do good content, and I was really, really thrilled that you had me on. Like,
Well,
I mean, I'm not getting you any promotional bonus since I don't have my own show. I was just happy to be invited.
I just like having people cooler than me on the show, so then through osmosis I feel cool too.
I'm just trying to figure out who's in my fucking house now.
I will say seriously though that you should consider doing a show, maybe not by yourself, maybe with somebody, so you can bounce off these takes off of people, and I think it would be a good show. I'm pretty sure everybody in the chat here would come watch it. I'd watch it too. So if you ever want any help with that, any technical help or anything like that, please hit up your boy. I'd be more than happy to help you out with that. And if not, that's fine too. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, and I mean,
we just appreciate.
Yeah, I mean,
you.
I'll just hang out, for a little bit, and then maybe I'll change my mind later.
Yeah, I mean, it's so easy to do now. I mean, I'm in my glorified walk-in closet here in the Brooklyn Batcave. If people saw this place, they thought I was in a prison cell or something. But
Yeah.
But I got my
That's why
toys.
Russell had to go to India. He needed some more open space.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm
But I'm
trying
glad
to
you're
open this.
waiting on him. I'm glad you're waiting on him to get home. He'll be really thrilled.
I'm trying to open Russell's window, but it won't open. I just don't get it. It seems like it's just like a picture or something over there. Anywho,
Weird. Super weird.
Is that whole interview? What is what whole? Keaton's asking if the interview is paywalled. Are you talking to us? Because we don't. Shit's free around here.
I don't know. Are you gonna pay for this, Keaton? It's paywall if you're gonna pay for it.
Yeah, he's money bags. He can do it.
Hey man, I gave you a couple bucks last night. Give it back.
He's rolling in that dough over there. He's got that DD money over there. He's sitting there. He's like Scrooge McDuck. He's like diving into the pit of coins and spitting them out and stuff. Although technically,
they beat up on those little high schoolers from the Vanguard, and that's how now they're rolling in money and they won't give any back.
They rolled the Vanguard. Hey kid, if you want us to live to see 18, you pony up the dough. But I'm 24. Give me the money. These jerks.
Yeah.
Kim said, she said maybe Uncle Warren and Tusker can have a show once a week on the Uncle Warren channel. No, we should have it on the Tusker channel. What do we call it? Tusker TV.
This interview is done. I clutched my pearls. I really don't know. I really don't know. I'm not talking about a show at all.
All I'm saying is Tusker TV. It rolls off the tongue, and you can, like, your coffee mug could have Tusker TV on there. You can have a little TV, and your face, like with that 80s, yearbook post. Oh
my God,
post.
I do have the hair where we could really do like the big, and then have like the tie-dye background, like Keaton's schoolbook picture. We could definitely do that. It's just we'd have to make it like a lot more soft, like more like the Star Trek type, like softening lens that they put on Pagan Splendor,
There's a reference. I know Russell is a big Star. He's a Trekkie like I am. So we get that the soft. You know how they did that, right? They took Vaseline and they put it on the camera lens and got it real fine, so it had that
it wasn't they put the Vaseline on the camera lens. They rubbed down the women and then they had to get the excess off on the camera on the lens. That's
I don't know if we could. You talk about rubbing down women with Vaseline. This ain't that kind of show, lady.
I'm sorry.
The midnight show, that's on the weekends. That's okay.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Sorry,
That's
the time slot. I was wrong.
We're a little higher brow than the midnight show. That's pretty much Thunderdome. That's some Mad Max shit. Yeah, that's anything goes. You know, we're talking about like edible sex toys and shit on that show. So you know, we try to keep it a little above board here. You know, with the decent folks that are coming over. We got decent people coming over.
Yeah, I know. Look, I mean, I can do both. I can be like a pundit, and I can be trashy. I can be both.
Well, I'm not quite sure what time zone you're in, but you should join us one Saturday night on the Secret Show. And Jimmy would love to have another lady on the show, and then I get to say I'm doing a show with 2 hot broads.
I'm having a threesome.
Menage a Troy.
As long as you promise to get that camera set up that we talked about fixed. I want that.
Yeah. That's definitely what that camera would be for. Heyo.
There's some innuendo there for you, fuckers.
Get your hand off my penis!
I will not be saying that. Anyway, I'm going to give you a proper goodbye here in just a second. Let me say goodbye to everybody here. Thank you so much for joining us, Tusker. We really do appreciate you, okay? Hang on just a second, okay? Cool. Whoa, that wasn't supposed to happen again. So, I forgot to do this, too. We got to beat up the old man. Like, share, and subscribe if you're new here. Don't be an asshole. Don't just show up
Can
for
I
free
leave
food.
now? Are we fucking done? No, I'm just kidding.
No, you're back on. See, that's what you do. When I say we're done, lady, we're done. And then the peanut gallery's got it. Fucking people. God damn it. Professionalism is a dying art. Anyway, I just want to thank everybody for coming out. There's too many of you to thank, but we're just glad you're here. And Tusker is a really cool chick. Be looking out for her. She's a rising star. I'm telling you, she's a rising star, Jerry. To the moon and back. Love everybody. Probably next show is going to be Saturday night at midnight for the Secret Show. Miss Jimmy will be joining me back for that. Mundus Ultra on the weekend, Sunday night at 6 p.m. We might do a special Friday night midnight show, maybe. If you've been good and you've eaten all your vegetables, we might do that. So we'll see. And then maybe throw in some gaming on the weekend, too, because, you know, we're nerds. That's what we like to do. Thank you, everybody. Love all y'all. Wash your ass. Keep it clean. You never know when you go to the doctor and they look at you and they're like, well, sir, you have a cavity. Let's take your pants off. What? Good night, everybody.